I would like to point out that the transaction in which present goods are exchanged for future goods takes quite a variety of legal forms. For example, a loan requested from a financial institution. I need 100 monetary units today for an entrepreneurial project. I am going to use the money to hire labor, lease capital equipment, and pay rent. Okay, well, I will grant you 100 units, but in exchange, you must promise to pay me 109 units in 1 year, if the market interest rate is 9%. That is one legal form. But another, indeed the operation's most common legal form, involves not the loan contract, but the very process of society's productive structure. Imagine I own a company, and I have saved. What do? Well, I hire an employee. An employment contract is equivalent to a loan contract, because when I hire a worker, I pay him today, and by today, I mean this week or this month. As the capitalist who owns the workshop, I draw on my savings to advance him his pay. In exchange for what? In exchange for ownership of the products of his labor once they are finished and have matured in the form of consumer goods in 1 year, or 2 or 3, or whenever. So, take note. In an employment contract, the salary that is paid corresponds to the present goods advanced to workers, and the one who advances them, the capitalist, receives in exchange ownership of the results of the production process in which those workers take part, and the ability to sell the products in the future and keep all proceeds from their sale. In a free society, in a free market, no worker is prevented from taking on all the risks and waiting the entire period involved in the production process. In this way, workers themselves can become capitalists and say, "Let us establish a cooperative. We members will all contribute our labor to the enterprise, whatever it may be. We will wait 2 years, assuming the production process lasts 2 years. And at the end of that period, when the process matures and the final consumer goods are ready, when the final stage, consumption, arrives and the goods have been produced, we will sell them and keep all the proceeds from their sale." If the workers wait that entire period, they have the right, because they are the owners, to keep all they obtain from the sale of the consumer goods. That is the legal form of the cooperative. And cooperatives do exist. There are labor cooperatives. One major example is the Mondragon Cooperative Corporation. However, the vast majority of us are not willing to wait out the entire process of production. We do not wish to become savers held captive by a production process that occurs at precisely our own workplace. The vast majority of us say, "Well, I do not want to wait 2 years and take on the risk. I want to be paid my salary today. In other words, this month, next month, and the month after that. I would like the money advanced to me." So then we become demanders of present goods, and someone else has to tighten her belt and save in order to advance us those present goods. When I am hired as an employee by any company, I am, from the standpoint of economic theory, entering into a contract in which I demand present goods in exchange for future goods. I receive my salary in the form of present goods today. I can eat, buy clothes, and support myself. In exchange for what? In exchange for handing over a greater quantity of future goods. How? By transferring the complete ownership of the good I am helping to produce, so that once it is finished and sold in the market, it will belong entirely to the one who has saved, the capitalist who has advanced me present goods. Well, the largest time market in which present goods are exchanged for future goods consists precisely of society's whole productive structure, the entire framework of companies of all kinds, where those who save, or capitalists, advance workers present goods in exchange for complete ownership of the good the workers are helping to produce. I repeat, no one is prevented from combining the role of worker with the role of capitalist and establishing a cooperative. Listen, I do not want to work as an employee. I want to own everything I help produce. Well, that is fine, but you will have to wait out the entire production period, which takes time. And we have already seen that the more productive and advanced modern societies are, the longer production processes take. And only once the entire period of production has matured and concluded, you will not have been paid anything monthly, but when the entire period of production concludes, the members of the cooperative can sell the product and divide up the earnings. The fact is that only a very small percentage of workers decide to get involved in the production process as members of a cooperative. The vast majority of us decide to work as employees, even if we end up saving. It is curious, but we do not want to put all our eggs in one basket by getting involved as savers in the same process we are involved in as workers. In other words, if I work for Oracle and receive a salary as an employee, I have entered into a contract in which I am advanced present goods and I transfer away ownership of my entire contribution to the production process. My contribution becomes the property of Oracle's shareholders, who will keep all the proceeds from the sale of the product once it is finished. It may so happen that I do not consume my whole salary. I may save a portion, but I do not wish to save it at Oracle. I may want to save it at the Banco Santander, at another company, in my apartment, or wherever. And since the market is very rich in options, it offers numerous possibilities and tends to satisfy every need that arises involving saving and investment. So, to recap, the fact that we have time preference explains the emergence in the market of a price for present goods in terms of future goods, which is known as the interest rate. In that market, some people offer and others demand present goods in exchange for future goods. The market price is set through the process of price determination in two-sided competition via the subjective valuations of the marginal pairs. The only peculiarity of this market price is that, by long-standing tradition, it is expressed as a percentage. Instead of saying that obtaining 100 monetary units today costs 109 1 year from now, we say that 9% interest is charged. And that is an essential price. The great bulk of the time market consists of society's whole productive structure, in which capitalists save and advance workers their salaries in each of the stages of the production process and at each of the companies that operate in them. And workers transfer ownership of what they produce to the capitalists who advance or lend them their pay, so to speak. A small subset of that time market is the short, medium and long-term loan market, in which certain institutions or certain individuals, but mainly institutions, lend us money for a term of 3 months, 1 year or 5 years. They advance us present goods today. We sign a loan agreement with the bank, and we promise to return the money in 1 year along with interest at a particular rate. But make no mistake, that market, which is so easy for us to visualize, because nearly all of us take part in it to some degree, amounts to only a tiny fraction of the whole market in which present goods are exchanged for future goods, which is society's entire productive structure, where capitalists advance workers their salary. And not only is the loan market only a tiny fraction, but it also plays a subsidiary role with respect to the interest rate set in society's productive structure as a whole. It is important that, as economic theorists, we be able to understand this from now on, because we usually grasp only what comes in directly through our eyes, loan operations at a bank. So, I imagine that the grand majority of those present here had not realized before now that an employment contract is also a loan contract. And we find a very clear indication of this in the fact that a worker can give up his immediate salary, become a member of a cooperative, wait until the end of the production process, and keep the entire product of his labor.
A que terminara el proceso de producción y quedarse con la totalidad del producto.